Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I just got home from NXT Aftershock live in Sacramento here, day 2, at the Aftershock, radio, I don't know, what big old rock and roll concert, I guess you can say. As we were sitting there waiting for the second show tonight, we were watching Hell in the Cell on my buddy Mario's phone. We didn't have the best connection, but the show kicked off and we all saw that Alberto Del Rio was the surprise guy to come out to fight John Cena, and honestly, we were all really surprised. At one point, the picture cut out on Mario's phone, but the audio would still continue to play just with a WWE logo right in the middle of the screen. So we were all huddled around like it was back in the 50s, listening to like, the radio and things like that. And it just was crazy as we listened to the match. Del Rio coming back to WWE, honestly, was a real big surprise, especially with him being introduced by his new manager. And it was like JBL said, these two guys mix like oil and water. Zeb Coulter, of course, was the guy that brought out Jack Swagger and Cesaro, and of course they were going up against Mexico. It was Zeb Coulter that would bring Jack Swagger to Elimination Chamber to win that, to go on to be the #1 contender to fight Del Rio, which was a big USA versus Mexico rivalry that was built up around WrestleMania 29. How Del Rio fits into WWE, I'm not 100% sure. You can know that Del Rio it was about to go back to Lucha Underground. He was a big part of AAA. When I think of this, I think of how surprised I am that Sin Cara sort of screwed now. He just sort of ditched AAA to go and wrestle for, I believe, the CMLL, because he was upset that there was a couple guys that came up, but also because of Rey Mysterio, because of Alberto Del Rio. These guys were all in there together. I thought that Del Rio, being able to work for Lucha Underground, being able to work for ROH, being able to work for AAA, being able to go wrestle independents, all across the United States, whoever's paying money, being able to go wrestle in Europe and Australia and all that deal. I thought he was going to be making a ton of cash. I thought there was no way in the world that he'd be going back to WWE, but it is what it is. There's always big-time surprises. Triple H, who I guess is the guy who is going to be able to say he got the job done. I guess we're going to have to listen to Observer Radio tonight to see what Dave says about this. But big surprise with Del Rio coming back to fight John Cena, answering the United States Open Challenge. I'm pumped. Can't wait for the match. Let's see what goes down tonight. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you as WWE Hell in the Cell kicks off with the big Alberto Del Rio return going up against John Cena. We have our first really big surprise of the night with Alberto Del Rio beating John Cena for the United States Open Challenge, becoming the United States champion. They played up the match big time, like something was the matter with John Cena, like his head really wasn't in the game, almost as if like with Shawn Michaels back in the day, when Shawn Michaels lost his smile, basically saying that John Cena wasn't able to prepare for this match. John Cena didn't know who was coming out. John Cena all week was buying into the feel of everything that was going down on social media, with everybody talking and all the rumors about who to prepare for. There was stories this morning about Daniel Bryan flying in to LA for Hell in the Cell. There were stories of Heath Slater actually getting to answer the challenge, even though he's been trying to go after it on Monday Night Raw for months. People thinking that it might be Tyler Breeze or Samoa Joe coming up from NXT. There was always a different rumor, always something else that was supposed to be going down. And as this match was going on, Cena went to go pick up Alberto Del Rio for the AA. It was able to slip out the back door. He hit the big back cracker on John Cena. From there, he just delivered a big, huge kick in the face. One of the really big things that I like more than anything else from Del Rio. It's going to be really fun having him back in WWE. I can honestly say that in my mind that I do predict that Del Rio will fall into the same thing he's always done before. WWE really likes Del Rio. They really like to use him, but he doesn't have a whole lot of crowd response behind him, honestly. And I think there's going to come time when WWE feels that the crowd is bored of Alberto Del Rio and just putting him off to pasture, then watching him wrestle on house shows and figure out like, oh man, this guy's good, trying to heat this guy up yet once again, like they do, time after time. You'll see him on for 6 months, off for 6 months, and, try to make a big star out of him, like they pushed him up to winning the championship from Big Show, and then having the match against Jack Swagger at WrestleMania 29, immediately losing the title after that, and then wondering why there was no real heat on Del Rio for big matches against John Cena when they tried to put him in there against that. So, I don't know. we'll see. Hell in the Cell kicks off with a big one. Del Rio's your new United States champion. He has a new partnership with Zeb Coulter. John Cena, that's the last we're going to see of him for about 3 months. So, it's going to be a big one. Hell in the Cell from the Staples Center. Let's see what else can happen tonight. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Second match of the night. Roman Reigns going up against Bray Wyatt, and it was honestly supposed to be a really, really good match. Honestly, in my mind, I was really hoping this would be one of the matches that got Roman Reigns over the hump with wrestling fans, really thinking that he was, one of the best guys, and maybe we can get started with the Roman Reigns era in WWE sooner than later. I know that it sort of sucks for Roman because I think he's been going through this feud with Bray Wyatt for quite a little bit, and it's sad because, all these people were saying that, John Cena's leaving, Randy Orton's hurt, this is only leaving WWE in the hands of Dean Ambrose. It's sort of like they're already just like taking for granted that Roman Reigns is never going to be the true main eventer that they think he's really going to be. Roman honestly should have got the title at WrestleMania 31. I completely understand why they put the brakes on that idea and went in a different direction with Seth Rollins cashing in. It feels like the Seth Rollins championship run hasn't been really set out all that well, but I was really hoping this was really going to be a really good match for Roman Reigns. It's something hanging his career on and say that he really is the focal point of WWE from here on out. His feud against Bray Wyatt has really put him in the background to the point where it just, like, no one wants to see him. And Bray's done it to just about anybody. They need to find some way to sort of spice up the character, whether if it's, he's sort of using fire in his act or something like that to make you really want to see once he delivers into the ring. It's like people want to see this guy show up, but then people don't really want to see this guy deliver promos. Maybe even sometimes people don't even want to see him wrestle matches. But Roman was able to overcome. He wins his match inside of the Hell in the Cell. They used a lot of tables to the point where I was hoping that this feud was not going to continue into the month of December for a TLC match. But not really 100% sure. With no Cena, no Orton, everything is going to be sort of thrown up into the air about what they're going to be doing from here on out. But Roman ends up getting the win after Bray Wyatt sets up 2 kendo sticks into the corner. Looks like he's sort of going to impale his face into the kendo stick, saying, "You asked for this," and at the last minute, Roman was able to sort of kick out and come back, and from that point, he used the kendo sticks, he started beating on, he started beating on Bray Wyatt, and from there, he threw, Roman threw Bray into the other kendo stick, and at that point, he hit the big spear, getting the big win. Roman goes on from here. I'm hoping this is the end of the feud, but not 100% sure. We're going to have to see where this goes in the foreseeable future, but I think that the farther you get people away from Bray Wyatt, the better off it's going to be for anybody in WWE. The New Day have outdueled, and right now they've outdanced the Dudleys yet once again. It just doesn't make sense how the New Day is able to keep continuing on from Dudleys. They beat them at the Madison Square Garden show. They beat them at Night of Champions. Here they are beating them for the 3rd time at Night of Champions. I guess at the other 2, they didn't get wins. They just didn't lose the championships, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But a very, very fun match from the Dudleys and the New Day. The New Day comes out. They come down to the ring. They've got one fallen unicorn. They're telling the story. Basically, Xavier Woods is not at the show for the reason that he suffered a concussion on Monday Night Raw. I believe it was going through a table via the Dudleys. And the word on the street from the Wrestling Observer is that he's actually getting married this weekend and actually had the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view time off. I sort of stuck behind what Dave Meltzer said about the whole deal, about how old school Vince would have just, his mind would have been blown that somebody was asking for time off on a pay-per-view week. Why they wouldn't have scheduled the wedding for the next weekend or the previous weekend. Why did it have to be this weekend? Hell in the Cell, the wrestlers, the fans, everybody knows what day is going to be a pay-per-view. Why would you have booked it like this? But WWE was able to write it around it, finding a way to not have Xavier Woods need to be at the show. But one thing leads to another. They have the match. They did an Eddie Guerrero spot pretty much, where during the match, Bubba Ray Dudley had the trombone in his hand, and the referee turned around. Kofi Kingston fell down to the mat, basically saying that he was hit by Bubba Ray Dudley. Kofi Kingston played this up. The referee didn't know his due. He didn't see the hit with the trombone, but he basically asked the crowd, and at the minute he went to go ring the bell and call for the disqualification of the Dudleys. At the last minute, he just thought to himself that he did not see them use it, so he had to keep on. Kofi immediately jumped up. One thing led to another, to a brawl inside of the ring, and as Bubba Ray Dudley turned around as Devon fell out of the ring, he was met with the trouble in paradise. The New Days get the win. They continue on with their tag team titles. 1, 2, 3. You got a feel for the Dudleys. They've got 3 shots at the championships. They haven't been able to pull it off. When are they able to be able to do it? I mean, are we finally going to see where the primetime players step up and become the rightful #1 contenders like they were after the Madison Square Garden show they were supposed to be? Or will the Dudley Boys get another shot come Survivor Series? And that was a weird promo itself. 25-year anniversary of The Undertaker. Are we really supposed to believe that Undertaker is showing up at the Survivor Series? I'm not 100% sure about that, but we'll continue on. It looks like the Bellas are going to be going up against Charlotte in the next match, where Becky Lynch is going to be banned from ringside. So we'll see how that match pans out. A really, really, really good match between Charlotte and Nikki Bella here for the Divas Championship. They really put the highlight of this match all about being one-on-one. Honestly, when the word came down during the pre-show that all outside parties from Team Bella... Oh, here she comes now. Huh. Weird. Okay, well, basically, Team Bella as well as Becky Lynch were banned from ringside. I know there's been sort of a Team PCB reunion between Paige and Charlotte, as well as Becky Lynch, as we try to figure out what's going on with Natalya. But I thought basically because Paige was in this gray area where she hasn't really been accepted back as a part of Team PCB, that she would be able to get around the ban and get down to ringside and maybe play a factor into some sort of a way into the match. But there was sort of a mishap of them going up to the top rope. They played it off like Charlotte had a back spasm because of the pain that she had occurred during the match with Nikki Bella, but it looked like flat out just they went for a big high impact spot off the top rope, and Charlotte either slipped, dropped her, something around there. And then at another point during the match, Charlotte gave a big kick to the back of the head of Nikki Bella, which made Nikki Bella's head get wrung, and she really didn't know where she was. She was able to fight back and get into the match. Charlotte was able to pull off the win with the figure 8, and Nikki Bella tapping out and saying that she had had enough. A very, very, honestly, very good match between Charlotte and Nikki. Hopefully Nikki will now be removed from the title picture. As of right now, we know that Paige wants a title shot. You can tell that they're trying to heat up Sasha Banks off of the awesome matches that she's had against Bayley in NXT, trying to play off of that, knowing that she does have a big fan base inside of WWE. They're playing this Undertaker feature again, but for Survivor Series. I'm hoping that they're not giving us Bray versus Taker at Survivor Series. They keep calling this 25 years of Undertaker. I don't know if they're going to be celebrating Undertaker, and maybe he does die tonight or something like that. But if they do Brock versus Undertaker again this soon at Survivor Series, it is a real big surprise. So we'll see. Awesome match though. Charlotte gets the win. Team PCB keeps the championship. We'll see what the next move is in the Divas Revolution. In what seemed like a very easy match for Seth Rollins defeats Kane, which is the build-up of the match was that Stephanie said that if Demon Kane did not defeat Seth Rollins, Corporate Kane would be removed from the Authority, no longer having a job within WWE. I don't know if this means that Demon Kane is going to be continued to be used in WWE on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. I know that there was a live... I guess it was like a house show, or there was a reading of some sort of, future card that I guess was going to matter. Oh, it was the Tribute for the Troop show, which was going to be Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, and Demon Kane teaming up in the main event. That is, only the scheduled, main event. Anything could happen. Maybe they'll pull Demon Kane. The way that it's been going, I was thinking that, Kane would be leaving WWE sooner than later. And, he wouldn't be a part of WWE anymore. Maybe he would, ride off into the sunset, sell that house in Tennessee and then downsize to something just, living life, selling insurance as Kane out there on the open. But maybe Demon Kane has just, been able to be talked into staying by Vince and Triple H and is going to haunt us for the considerable future of us watching WWE. This match was pretty easy for Seth Rollins to win. Corporate Kane had the advantage. They brawled on the outside. They brawled on top of the announce tables and this, that, and the other. But it never was really out of reach for Seth Rollins. He had a big frog splash, tried to get the pin. Kane was able to kick out, and 2 moves later, Seth Rollins got the win. No real surprise here. I don't think people really thought that Kane was going to be taking the championship and getting a win here, but fun times here as we move ahead with the pay-per-view. Only a few matches left on the show tonight. Of course, you got Undertaker and Brock inside of the cell. You've got Kevin Owens going up against Seth Rollins. No, Kevin Owens is going up against Ryback. And we'll be sitting pretty and be all done with the show. So, once again, the Intercontinental Championship match goes into the death slot that used to be for the Divas match. So, hopefully that's not bad for Kevin Owens. But Seth Rollins gets the win. Not sure that... I think that they teased that it was going to be Roman going up against Seth for the championship next month at Survivor Series. I think that's sort of what Ambrose and Roman were talking about without really talking about it. But, because of they just were talking in code, basically saying, what this means, and Roman saying, I think so. Maybe next month Roman and Dean fight to see who the number 1 contender is, and from there, then they move on to fighting for the championship. So maybe it's Dean versus Roman next month at Survivor Series, and Seth has another opponent that we can't think of right now. But we'll see. Night of Champions. No, not Night of Champions. Hell in a Cell continues. Set, very easy set and go match for Kevin Owens. Not really a lot of work here for Kevin Owens versus Ryback. It looks like they're going to be going in a separate, different direction, and Ryback will fall out of the Intercontinental Championship picture from here on out. He was a good champion. He's probably mostly going to be remembered for the injury with the staph infection that kept him out of Night of Champions, delaying the match between him, Big Show and The Miz until SummerSlam. But then again, Miz and Big Show have both fallen out of the Intercontinental title picture. So Kevin Owens moves on. He does do what he said he was going to do. He said that he was going to make Hell in a Cell the Kevin Owens show. And with the pop-up powerbomb, he was able to pull off the win. There was a few definite moments of highlights in this match. There was Ryback showing off his brute strength, picking up Kevin Owens up over his head and basically just dumping him like a backdrop onto the match. Basically, from there, Kevin Owens would start to get mad. We saw him doing the running cannonballs into the ring. Just the bursts of speed into the corner where Ryback would get his comeback. Basically, it wasn't really a spear, but it was like a pop-up power bomb version of its own. But Kevin Owens was able to pick him up and basically set him up out of the ring. We would see Ryback signaling that it was all over and it was going to be all said and done. But basically, Kevin Owens was able to turn it into the pop-up powerbomb for the 1-2-3, and he escaped with his Intercontinental Championship, living on to fight another day. And from here, we're going to go to none other than the main event. We got they're showing John Cena highlights. I get confused. The main event tonight, Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. What we're all here for at Hell in a Cell. The one match that brought us the dance. We might have been, sort of wondering who the mystery opponent for John Cena would be, with Alberto Del Rio making his return with Zeb Coulter. But if you're watching this, more than likely it's because you just have the network and this is on, or if you were excited for it, you were excited to see the playoff of the Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar feud at Hell in a Cell. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with the main event of the WWE Hell in the Cell 2015 pay-per-view with none other than Undertaker and Brock Lesnar going into the Hell in the Cell match. This one, honestly, started out really good. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman get you all pumped up with that kick-ass theme, basically, kicking everything off, them coming down to the ring as the cell is being lowered. They get in there, and then Undertaker takes his 10-minute entrance in order to get into the ring. I love the effect of basically the camera following Undertaker as he enters into the cell, and then Taker shutting the door behind him, keeping the camera crew out, almost to sort of signify that, there was about to be an ass whooping inside of that cell, and that no one needed to be in there that didn't need to be in there. And that's basically what happened, right off the very beginning. These guys start to fight, really going at each other, and they're fighting in the ring. They go out of the ring. They're using the cell. They're hitting each other, with everything that they have. Brock Lesnar gets thrown into the ring post by the Undertaker. At this point, he goes in head first, and you can totally tell that Brock blades his forehead against his wrist in the corner, and then immediately after they show it to you in live time, they immediately show it to you in a replay to show you how Brock Lesnar gets busted open. If you're ever looking for a way to get caught blading, this is exactly how you do it. And if you were following Brian Alvarez on Twitter, Brian Alvarez was immediately talking about the news of everything that was going on backstage as the show was going on, basically saying that, Vince was going bananas. Kevin Dunn was yelling into that all replays needed to be played in black and white. Vince was just, going crazy. This is things that he's made promises to all different people all over wrestling, whether if they're people that are backing him, whether if it's people that is investing in him, whether if it's people that are, sponsoring him, this sort of thing is not, taking place in wrestling anymore. With what I thought was going to be Undertaker's last match, I can understand that Taker would sort of take it into his own hands to go out his own way, having the best match that he could. If you could think about the story that Batista tells on the Chris Jericho podcast, talking about the fact that he thought that he needed to get a little bit of color in a cage match on Monday Night Raw against Chris Jericho. You just got it. Is Vince even going to say anything? This is Brock. This is Taker. This is two of the biggest guys that he has in his company, but he has to take a stand, or anybody is going to start thinking that they can start doing this, taking it back to the old days. Nobody's as good as Brock and Taker, but that's the way it is. Inside of this match, we see Brock get the upper hand on Undertaker, hitting him with two F5s. After the second F5, Brock just goes crazy, and he just starts honestly tearing up the ring. He's ripping up the mats. He's trying to expose the wood underneath. Undertaker goes for a tombstone. He hits it on Brock. He hits it on the exposed wood right there in the ring. But Brock is able to find a way to muscle out. They're just fighting. They're fighting. And then Brock hits the third F5, and the third F5 is the one that nobody ever gets up with. From there, Brock gets the win. Undertaker, it takes them a good little while to get up. And then the fans start cheering for the guy. They're going crazy. Undertaker, looks like it's going to be his last match. You got to be thinking about Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame this year at WrestleMania. What a way to tip your hat. I guess this sort of shows you about why they've been, saying that Survivor Series throughout the show is going to be celebrating the 25 years of The Undertaker, celebrating the end of a career, the end of an era. The guy that I grew up watching, when I was sitting there eating my cereal, looking at the pay-per-view picture for the 1991 Survivor Series of Hogan going against Undertaker for the championship, and thinking that, man, Hogan's got a big match on his hands. How's he going to get out of this one? And then this guy beating Hogan, something that you really didn't see done all the time, even though the championship reign would only last a couple of days before losing it back at Tuesday in Texas. Undertaker started something that he took on all the way till now. So we have to celebrate his career at Survivor Series. It's going to be a good one, and we'll see you guys down the road. Man, oh man, as I thought Hell in a Cell 2015 was coming to a close, I thought this was going to be the end of Undertaker. I thought that they were going to be writing Taker off into the sunset with basically him going off, retiring, going into the WrestleMania Hall of Fame. I was putting all the pieces in place of everything like that happening. The Wyatts come out. Let alone, we've already seen the Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. It was a one-off. It was a here and there, in the history of WWE, especially with the Brock Lesnar feud. They made it look like it never even really happened. They always talked about the fact that we hadn't seen Undertaker since WrestleMania 30. The Wyatts come out. Not just Bray, but Bray, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, Braun Strowman. They slowly make their way down to the ring. They surround the ring. They slowly, make their way into the ring. Luke Harper is the first to attack, tying up with Undertaker. Eric Rowan jumps Undertaker from behind. Braun Strowman comes in. Bray Wyatt, it's 4-on-1, beating him down in there in the middle of the ring. He's already gone through a Hell in a Cell match against none other than, Brock Lesnar, the biggest, baddest beast in WWE. I talked about in the fact that I was hoping that Roman Reigns was going to break off from Bray Wyatt and continue to move his way up the ladder in WWE, going after the WWE Championship, hopefully making a run to get the belt from Seth Rollins. And I guess that he's going away in a different direction. I guess it's not going to be, him going up against Bray anymore. I know they used a lot of tables in that match. That's what I was thinking. Maybe they were building up to a TLC match at TLC. And I was like, you don't go through a Hell in a Cell match to build up a TLC match. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But, as the Wyatts make their way into the ring, they lay out Undertaker. They, bring him over to the outside of the ring. Then you sort of see them all four grabbing a piece of Taker and picking him up and just walking out of the arena. I don't even really know what to call it. Did they, they didn't really kidnap him. Did they steal him? Are they taking him back to the haunted mansion that the Wyatts come from? And are they going to put him through the trance where they think Undertaker thinks he is a member of the Wyatts? Or are they taking him in the back to beat him up to build to a match at Survivor Series? I thought this was pretty fucking stupid as it was going on, but now that I'm talking about it, we have to find out, is Undertaker now going to be with the Wyatts? Undertaker going to be fighting the Wyatts? Or the Wyatts just taking him in the back to work him over a little bit more? Are they, taking him out to the graveyard to bury Undertaker's gimmick, and he's no longer going to be this anymore, and now Bray is going to sort of move on to become the new Undertaker of WWE? I don't know, man, but as I was thinking this was stupid, now I might be a little bit into it. Hell in a Cell 2015 ends on a little bit of a weird note. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you, the Hell in a Cell 2015 post-show, talking about everything that went down during the show, where we saw, I guess you can say 8 matches, 7 of them on the pay-per-view, 1 of them on the pre-show, because of the fact that I was at the WWE NXT show here in Sacramento, and I watched this show. I got home relatively about 9 to 9:30 when I started the show. I ended it at about midnight. I did not go back and watch the pre-show. I did watch the highlights that played during the pay-per-view. During this, Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville were able to get the win via the Red Arrow over Rusev, Sheamus, and Kane Barrett. I don't honestly think that I missed anything there, but when you talk about the 7 matches that were on the pre-show, you can honestly say that this was a good show. It wasn't bad. At no point was I reaching for the remote to fast forward because I was watching on the on-demand. But there was never really a time when I was just pumped up, just really excited about what was going on during the show. There's moments that you're always going to remember. You're always going to remember Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in the Hell in a Cell. I'm not 100% sure that this match is better than their last Hell in a Cell, but in the history of WWE, they don't really act like that Hell in a Cell match matters or, ever happened in the history of WWE. They sort of treat that as ancient history. But if you go back on your network and you watch the, I believe it's No Way Out 2002, I think that match is better. But this match was good too. I don't want to take anything away from it. And of course, you're always going to remember Alberto Del Rio coming back and beating John Cena. he was gone from the WWE for about a year before making his return. Of course, in the downtime, he worked for Ring of Honor, he worked for AAA, he worked for Lucha Underground. So he's a big piece that WWE was missing. Of course, they just went on that Mexican tour. They had to bring The Undertaker back from his, I guess you can say, yearly hiatus. And he wrestled matches with Kane because they needed some sort of a draw in order to compete against all of the different Mexican wrestling organizations that were down there and trying to get that money to be, put in their pocket and, make a good payday down there. But I guess in the long run, I think within a month, we're going to be able to tell if this Del Rio return is real or if this is just sort of something that they did to spice up the show. We have to find out, does WWE really want Alberto Del Rio to be Alberto Del Rio and be a part of WWE? Or did they just want Alberto Del Rio because so many different wrestling organizations wanted him and they didn't want them to have him. They just want him to have him just to have him. They don't want him to go anywhere else or wrestle for anybody else. But this is a big piece. I mean, if they use him right, he could be good. But it's sort of like with Del Rio, WWE almost treats this guy like every once in a while, we want to have you here. But then there becomes times when they don't really want anything to do with this guy. He just basically gets thrown aside. And then they have to try and heat him up from the middle of nowhere. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But Del Rio comes back. He beats John Cena in the opener. Big surprise. He's going to be with Zeb now. And Cena's going to be going off taking his vacation. And we'll see him when he comes back for TLC, I guess. And hopefully Del Rio will have the United States Championship still. And we'll see a rematch for these guys. From there we go to Roman Reigns against Bray Wyatt and a little bit of a slow-paced Hell in a Cell. There was a lot of tables in there. There was a lot of action with them, hanging chairs from the cell, hanging kendo sticks in the corner and all sorts of things. Roman gets the win. Now that I'm sort of putting things together, maybe Roman doesn't even get to get away from Bray Wyatt because I'm guessing that it's going to be Undertaker, teaming up with people going up against the Wyatts. And if so, who's really going to team up with Undertaker other than Kane? Who's going to, complete this foursome? Is it going to be Ambrose and Reigns with Taker and Kane going up against the Wyatt family? If so, he didn't really get away from Bray, and this Hell in a Cell feud didn't really end anything. From there, we go to the New Day beating the Dudley Boys relatively clean in order to keep their tag team titles. The Dudleys have failed in 3 attempts to get those titles, so we'll have to see what WWE is building up for in those guys. If they don't win it at Survivor Series, they're not winning it at all. It's not like the tag team division in WWE was really hot. You've got the Lucha Dragons, you've got the Primetime Players, and that's really all I can really think of in the tag team division. So maybe the Dudley Boys and the New Day just automatically go at it again. Maybe the Dudley Boys don't need to beat anybody in a number one contenders match, but the New Day does, have something to say that, they beat the Dudleys without Xavier Woods being there, and they did it relatively clean. Charlotte beat Nikki Bella in a very, very good Divas match. Possibly one of the best Divas matches that we've seen in a long time. Hats off to them. Seth Rollins makes easy work of Kane, basically making it where Corporate Kane will no longer be a part of WWE. He has lost his role of Director of Operations, but I'm thinking that we're going to be seeing a lot more of Demon Kane from here on out. Kevin Owens beats Ryback relatively easy, and then in the main event, Brock Lesnar beats Undertaker with a 3 F5s, a few suplexes, a whole lot of blood, and Undertaker, of course, hitting a tombstone. This will probably be like an oh my god match that's probably remembered for a long time because of Brock Lesnar pulling a Nexus and just basically ripping up the ring and just making a statement that he wanted to show that he is the biggest, baddest beast inside of WWE. I guess I finished my Gatorade, my tropical cooler. I didn't even realize it. I was looking for a drink. I was getting a little bit thirsty, but it's gone. But fun stuff. I'll put the day in the life up of going to the NXT show in the morning. And then I'll probably make the video tomorrow as well, talking about, the day number 2, because as you can hear, the voice is a little bit shot.